A, I don't think you're real. But if I'm wrong and you have a plan for my life, prove it. Don't ever ask God, the creator of the universe, to prove to you that he's real unless you are ready for an encounter of the first kind. 2 weeks come and go. I didn't even remember praying that prayer. There was zero faith attached to my prayer. And
So if the premise of a video or premise of a statement is a lie, then the rest of the video has to be a lie and just a confirmation of your feelings. Why do I say this about this man's testimony? Because if he had continued for 3 minutes, he continues and talks about the fact that he got a premonition from God to call his mother in. So he called his mom, and she was about to commit suicide, and he talked his mother down, and then he got in his car. He drove from, I think, Atlanta to Chattanooga, got to Chattanooga, saw that everything on the outside of his mom's house was fine, and then went inside, and his mom was ready to kill herself. And then he talked his mom down from killing herself. And if God had not spoken to him in an audible voice, then he would not have known. And that was his proof that God is real. But why do I say the premise that he started off with is a lie? Well, the reason why I say that is because he said that he did not believe in God. He didn't think God was real. But yet he said, God, if you're real, then prove yourself to me. See, here's the slick little thing that many people will miss. If a person does not believe that God is real, then the person would never pray to that God. Not sincerely, not with a true heart, not asking truthfully for this God to demonstrate himself. You see, you have to actually have some level of belief in this God in order to pray and ask this God if he is real, to show himself up in your life. You see, this pastor has many different testimonies that people just love to hear about. He got testimonies that talks about the fact that he had people who were going to kill themselves, and they've come to him, and he was able to dissuade them from killing themselves. And many of those happen. And that's a large part of his outreach in Christianity. But the parts of it, the parts that I love the most is that he demonstrates that he has always believed in this God. And for him to say that he doesn't is a lie, to start out the premise that God showed up to him, because he already believed in this God. The reason why he's always had some levels of doubts or had questions is not doubt in this God or doubt in this religion. It's merely the fact that he was molested as a child. And then he gives a whole testimony about how he was molested as a child, got to the Home Depot, saw his molester. God wanted him to forgive the molester at that point. And he was saying, I'm not going to do it. And then 3 days later, and notice he said 3 days. That's, lets you know he's kind of like moving the story in a format that will make you think that, oh, it's heavenly, godly, bound around, wrapped up in Jesus, because Jesus in 3 days, and so on and so forth. But after 3 days, he talked about how the fact that he forgave him, and that he didn't have to go and find him. He didn't have to be present with him, but he just forgave him. And so God showed up in his life so that he would have a heart of forgiveness. But yet here's another time later on that he's asking God, if you're real, show yourself, because I don't think that you're real. You've believed in this God your entire life, whoever this pastor is. Stop lying. You're now taking issues that you've had with this God, and you're trying to convince people that you had a moment where you didn't believe in this God, where you was questioning his existence. You see, a person like myself do not question the existence of the Bible God. I would never say, Jesus, if you are real, Son of God, have died on the third day and rose up, and now stand on the right side of God, and in the Trinity, you are God with the Holy Spirit, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, then show up in my life. And he gives the threat, don't ask for it unless you're ready for something. If I truly believe in this God, then that's the only way I could ask. But since I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus is not God, that the God of the Bible is not God, then I would never ask the God of the Bible sincerely to show up to prove that it is God, because I don't believe in it. There's nothing that could happen. And what I do know is, and what this pastor knows, is that for the majority of people in this world, life is an uphill battle. Life is primarily uphill. You might have plateaus, you might have resting spots, but life for the most part is uphill. You're born into a family that you did not ask for. The family going to have some levels of dysfunction. The community that you're born into is going to have some levels of dysfunction. There's crime no matter what country you go to. There's the disenfranchised and oppression no matter where you live. Getting out of your current financial status that you was born into is always difficult for the overwhelming majority of people, since most people are born into the 90%. You're inundated with trying to have a happy life, but you work the majority of your life for someone, and you take very little time for vacation. You take very little time for self upkeep, and life is mostly an uphill. And don't even get me started talking about relationships, whether they're friends or family or romantic, and children. Oh my goodness, raising children. Every life is an uphill battle. So to say, don't ask God to show himself and you're not prepared is a trick, because most people within the span of 3 to 6 months will have to face something. Some situation comes up in most people's lives every 3 to 6 months, and pretty much in everybody's lives every year. So if you are already believing in this God, or if you ask this guy for that, then it's most likely that something negative is going to happen in your life. And then you're going to have to look to triumph over it. And you're going to take that experience of whatever gets you past that situation, because every uphill battle that's going on, you get past each one of them. Sometimes they come back, but you get past it and you keep going. And because of that, you take that experience and you say that, oh, well, this God is real. You don't think Muslims have made the same prayer and then something happens in their life and they overcome it and they give that credit to Allah? That Hindus haven't made that prayer and they give that credit to Brahma or Krishna? Most religious people or believers of any religion, they will have that prayer for their God to show up in their life, or to help them out of this situation, or to cure them from their doubt. And then they'll have a life experience, and they'll attribute that life experience to that God. So if I took this gentleman's testimony, then I should take the testimony of every Muslim who has the same one, every Brahmin who has the same one, every Buddhist, every Taoist, every Ifa practitioner, every religion that there is, even the Satanists have those types of testimonies. So all it is life. It's just life experience and living life. When you go through these situations, if you really drill down into it, either person helped you, a situation became available and helped you, or unfortunately, most people don't want to do this part or even admit to this part. You got off your ass and you helped yourself, because almost everything you've accomplished in your life, it is because you made a decision and you took actions towards that decision. And then eventually, if you stayed consistent, whatever it is that you were desiring came true in your life. If it didn't come true, it is because it was more, you weren't willing to put forth the necessary energy to overcome it. Now, of course, there are accidents and there are tragedies and there's incurable diseases that we faced and things of that nature. That's just a sign of the times that we live in. So those things happen, and you can pray and you can do whatever you possibly can. And sometimes you're just going to lose. Does that mean the devil kept you, or that your God is taking you through a season? So this man is a liar in the fact that he's using this testimony to say that that is proof of this God, because it is certainly not proof of this God. It is proof that that he had a connection with his mother. If the story is real, he had a connection with his mother, and he felt the energy, the vibration in the ether of concerning his mother. And that prompted him to call. That happened to me many times, even happens still to this day with people that I'm close to. And you know it happens to you too. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.